We are live. I think we're a minute late, but I had a little chit chat with the other speakers and stuff, and kind of I want to do a quick introduction to the audience, to the guest speakers and what they have to offer, and also talk about what we have set up today. So first of all, I want to thank my guest speakers, uh, Ed Furteau and Jeremy Blueball. They're both really good people, good friends. I think I've known both of you for, I want to say 2 years. I don't know if that's quite right or not, but there's
I'd say it's almost 3 years, Troy.
almost 3 years. See, you need to correct me on that.
Yeah, it's been 10 years, Troy.
10 years?
No, not quite 10.
I think someone's not telling the truth here. Yeah. So I am an expert in certain areas that have to do with LinkedIn and systems, and I know a lot about personalization and things like that. But I'm not an expert on certain areas that Ed and Jeremy touch on, and I thought it would be great to add them to the roster today. And so last time we had a great show, a great turnout, and so I'm really happy with that. So I'll go through. We'll go back and talk to Jeremy and Ed and get an introduction. But just so you know what's going on for this show, we're really going to touch on how to increase revenue through reducing the amount of tire kickers, creating systems where they actually make sense to you, and some repeatable processes. Another thing too is we have a mastermind. It's called a client acquisition mastermind, and I will make an offer at the end. So I'll just be very clear. But it's a no-brainer offer. It's something that we're doing to fill seats to help other individuals. The other thing that we're going to do is, let's see here. After we're going to do a quick meet and greet, and then figure out what we're going to get out of this event and answer any questions that you guys have. Someone says they have no sound. Can people hear me? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me.
I didn't hear a word you said.
You didn't at all? You guys are hearing me.
We have a nice
Ed's a little
group coming
feisty.
in
Ed's,
here.
Ed's feisty
I
today.
know he is. He's a guy I want to bring into a bar fight with. I don't want to have a bar fight with him, but if I got into him. Yeah, okay, they can hear us. Great. Okay,
Nice
so
group.
let's start with this. I want to know where everyone is coming from. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Ed, you're from Kalamazoo.
Yes.
Jeremy,
Richmond.
Richmond. And so for everyone else, feel free in the chat. So I like to know where the people are actually coming from.
And I believe there's only one Kalamazoo, so I don't need to say Michigan, I don't think.
Yes. Is it cold all the time? Do you actually have a summer?
No, it's actually pretty warm out. I go walking every day, and no, it's I don't go walking unless it's in its 50s.
Well, 50 is a little on the chill, not too cold.
Yeah, for if you're in the South, yeah, but
we got
Midwest.
Atlanta. A couple of people from my place. I'm in Atlanta. Got
Look at
Canada.
that. Look at all these people. Wow.
Yeah, Miami, Oakland. I'll overlay the chat real quick. Oh, why does it say no comments? It doesn't move them over, does it?
I was trying to
Alabama,
send a message to
Orlando,
people.
Dallas. Oh, it comes in afterwards.
Is there a way to send a chat message to people as they're coming in? I sent one, but it went, I think, to
No,
you
that was
and
the
Jeremy.
private chat. Restream doesn't allow you to do a lot of those things there. So
I can't talk to everyone. Oh man.
Yeah, there's some limitations on this. But oh well, that's life.
It said, well, I wanted to talk to everybody, so I don't know.
But you can see the chat, and we can answer their questions.
Absolutely.
So first of all, first and foremost, not first. We got through the chat there, but I want to introduce my speakers as Jeremy and Ed. Jeremy, let them know a little bit about our relationship. I know Jeremy is a client of mine. He does very well, but he specializes in a particular type of marketing to retain high-end clients. Tell us about what you do.
Yeah, Troy. So first, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer we live in a world what I'd call too much. We live in too much noise, too much information, too much stimulus, just too much everything coming at us on a day-to-day basis. And our belief here at Coin Flip Marketing is really kind of to get through that too much. You got to break through the noise and get people's attention. And we found the best way to do that is through personalization. And mostly what we do from a personalization standpoint is through a channel that most people don't use anymore, and that's the US mail. Or your mail service if you're not in the United States, whatever it's called in your country, if you're outside the United States here. And the reason why is, when's the last time you got something in the mail that was actually personalized directly for you? If you've ever gotten one, congrats, but probably most likely not. And that's why it works, is really we try to teach you ways to get people's attention through the US mail, using personalization, using gifting, using whatever you possibly can send in the mail to say, wow, this person's different. I want to spend a few minutes on the call when they call from a prospecting standpoint, or if it's retaining your best clients, what do you know about your best clients that you can send them that's going to say, I know you, Troy. I get you. I thought of you when I saw this. I had to send it to you.
Yeah, I know a lot of them you do research on, and you verify kind of what college they went to or their likes, and you do a little stepping in order to kind of provide that perfect gift. One of the things I showed, I think last time, is this is an example of a personalization right here, and I know that we talked about it a couple of times, but it's a mini office, so it's actual Legos, and so the idea is if you have that personalization, you give them something fancy, they'll leave it on their desk, and that is a really cool concept. So it could be something simple.
Yeah, so I just did a post about it today. It's everybody wants, $37 billion was spent last year on corporate logo items. And, I joke 95% of that was either thrown away in the trash or regifted during the holidays. If you're going to send something, especially to your top clients or even to your top prospects, you got to make it about them moving forward, because they care about them. They don't really care about you or your brand. So like, here's a perfect example of like a wine glass. I don't know if you can see the person's name there on it. That's their name. This is actually a map of Scottsdale. Yeah. So it's a company called Well Told Design that does that. They actually do water bottles too. I think this is
very handsome.
Raleigh. Puts their name on it. If you find out your client's a huge Detroit Tigers fan, like here's an example of if they like to drink beer, like here's a Detroit Tigers baseball bat bottle opener. Examples I can show you, like it's really getting understanding who your best client is, what makes them tick, what makes them human. At the end of the day, we all watch Netflix. We all have a sports team we cheer for. We all have a spot that we go on vacation to. It's finding that information and then using it to your advantage.
Yeah, I think it's extremely important for client retention. So if you have a client that's paying, that's paying $30,000, $50,000 a month for their advertise or whatever services that you're providing, you want to know that you appreciate them. And so those things help with retention. It's much easier to retain a client than to get a new one,
Oh yeah.
So thank you.
Studies show it's five times harder to get a new client than is to retain a client. And what we found here in our business, we've been doing this for 4 years now, is if you actually, what we call the wow factor, we call them wow mailers to your best clients, and you get it right, they start talking. Not only do they become your friends, they become advocates, and they just start telling your name and your business to everyone. And also too, when you put a tangible gift in their hand that they would actually use, and it gets people talking about them. Hey, Troy, where'd you get that wine glass with your name on it? Oh, well, this guy named Jeremy Blueball over at Coin Flip Marketing sent it to me. Or hey, my financial advisor sent it to me, or my insurance agent, or whatever your role is. Like, it gets them talking about you. It's free marketing.
Oh, and where 50% of your business comes from, it comes from recommendations. So if you're doing good service and they have a pleasant idea every time they see a touch point, they're more likely to provide that or tell someone else about you. And so if someone's recommended to you, it's a much easier sell. It is a much easier sell versus you tooting your own horn,
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. I would say I probably close a lot more of my referrals than I do actually my cold prospects.
Yeah, the numbers.
I'm assuming everybody listening on this call is the same way too.
Hey, Ed. So I've been friends with Ed for quite a while, and he's given me some great advice on how to manage my email list and does a lot of deliverability. Ed, can you tell? And again, email is really the backbone of business. So people don't really think about that. They say, I'm a LinkedIn expert and I create systems that support email, direct message, and video and all that other stuff. But the default is actual email, how it's written, deliverability, and all that sort of thing. So, Ed, what do you say about that? And if you have any quick bits of advice, we would love to hear it.
Yeah, well, Troy, you've been doing really well with your email list. I remember handing it over to you
I
late
was really
fall.
scared. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, you picked it up pretty fast. I mean, your open rates are really good. Your engagement's really good. You've grown your list, so you've done a great job. I'm the guy who connects like somebody like Troy and what he does, and what somebody like Jeremy and what he does. I would be the person that's kind of in the middle with email. So email is still the number one communication channel out there. A lot of people like to say, well, email is dead. But I remember it wasn't very long ago when Facebook and I think Instagram went down and people were freaking out. It was down for 24 hours. And the way they were communicating with their friends about Facebook being down was through email. So email is the default, as Troy mentioned, the default communication channel for most people. Still the number one communication channel if you're doing B2B. And the way we approach it is with a combination of a subscription email, kind of opt-in type email, along with getting people in your CRM. So you start off with maybe a newsletter. Let's say you're talking to somebody on LinkedIn and you're using Troy's approach to reach them. You want to have another communication channel. I always say to people, hey, can I get you another communication channel just in case there's a problem? I know sometimes I'm not on LinkedIn. I don't pay attention to DMs. There's a script that we follow, but most people will agree to that. Now you have two different communication channels that you could talk to somebody. You can get them on a newsletter, something that goes out once a week. And then what we do is we put triggers in place to determine when somebody's interested. So if you think about the general population, about 10% are in market, meaning they're open to hearing what you have to say. They possibly will buy what you have to offer. 3% of those people are really in market. They are the ones that are actively looking. Maybe they just had some sort of trigger event that caused them to need to solve their problem right now. And then you have another 7% that are open to talking about what you have to say. Maybe they have an existing problem that they'd like to solve, but it's not urgent. So you've got that 10% you can talk to. The 90% aren't ready yet, and you need to ascend them up different levels to where they are ready. And that's where a good newsletter will come in place. And then you have triggers. Troy and I know about this because we used it on his list. We call it the needle in the haystack, where the triggers.
I coined that phrase, by the way. I like that idea, needle in the haystack method. But
yes, that's what he said when I mentioned it to him, and now he said he's coined it. He stole it from me.
no.
But I
trademarked it.
Yeah, he did. But we've used that method, two-step method, to identify people that are in market without upsetting the rest of the people that aren't in market. And then when we do that, we've booked appointments for Troy, we've booked appointments for myself, we've booked appointments for our friend Jean-Michel when we were working, all three of us. It's a great way to identify people who are ready to do business now. Then you move them over either to a CRM, or you can get them on an appointment, or you can send them to some more a sales page. Works great.
Yeah, definitely. I'll give a quick brief on how I managed my simple list. So I've talked to Ed about it, and I said, you know what? When people need to add people to the list and people need to remove people from the list, right? And so the list size is not always the most important thing. It's that engagement, open rate, click-through rate, those type of things. So what I did was on my calendar link, when someone books on a meeting with me, I have an option And that option is, well, is it okay if I email you? So you're getting pre-permission on that. Another thing are these events. People are registering for these events and they could be added to a list. But even when you add those individual people to a list, we double verify it and we send them an email saying, are you sure it's okay? Because the worst thing you want to do is have someone kind of pissed off. And then I think my open rate is between 60 and 70%. And I think it depends on the months or the seasons and stuff. When 4th of July hit around, maybe the open rate was less because people are on vacation, and there's certain times when people are engaging and not. And my click-through rate was I thought was pretty low. Ed said it was normal. I was pretty depressed because it's between a 1 and 4 or 5% click-through rate, and you said, oh, that's pretty normal. So you're doing well with the list, and those things can be built over time and be a single channel, and we'll talk about all these different channels here and stuff. So we'll get into it. And if anyone has any questions about anything that we're talking about, feel free to put it into the chat. And there may be a little delay on that, but we'll go ahead and all answer it, or we'll stop each other to kind of answer that. Felicia, yeah, I met you not too long ago. You're in Conyers, Georgia. Hey, how you doing? I think she just said hi there. So they're
rolling out the glamour shot there with that, Troy.
I know like you model. Like that, huh? I had to do a lot on that.
That's his second job. He's a model. Yeah. Weekend model.
I wish. I'm not model-esque enough. So So this is a set of slides that we'll post tomorrow, and so we'll also send everyone a DM or a in-mail to let them know that, hey, here's a post for that. So if you want this set of slides, you can. We were really talking about 3 areas, but we broke those 3 areas down to 9 tips, and we kind of want to go through this. And I'm interested in what Ed and Jeremy have to say about that. So the first thing I always start with is you really intimately need to know who you are and then who you aren't. And that goes to the kind of the third area where we talk about getting rid of the tire kickers. So if you are super clear on what you do, and then you are probably clear on who you work with, and then you have to be understanding of who you don't want to work with, because you don't want to look like a flea market. And so that's the approach that I tend to do. And I think several months ago, I just implemented this, and I was getting about 50 meetings a week, and it was retardedly insane because I had a lot of tire kickers and a lot of wasted stuff. I couldn't do my business. So I want to have about 20 meetings maximum a week. That's it. So a portion of those are meet and greets, a portion of those are business meetings. And if I can close the deal on the first call, I will. I won't sell it, but they'll ask for it. But usually a 20-minute meet and greet is to understand if there are any dots to connect, if you can help support them or they can support you. And then if they really want more details on, an actual business transaction, you move that to another meeting if you can't close it right then and there, So I got 3 bullet points here, create clarity. And a lot of people are missing their brand, and then who they are serving. So on my profile, I say I deal with this person, this type of person, and this type of person in this dollar range. So you're actually removing a lot of the noise. And that information should be brought across in the vibe for your posting, your outreach, and all that sort of thing. I don't even use my website hardly. I use my LinkedIn profile a lot more, but even on your website, you want to do that if that's your main thing there. And then the other thing I have is identifying your niche. So I'm onboarding a client right now, and he can help a lot of people, but I don't want him to, again, be a flea market. I want him to be able to help that person, And so who's for LinkedIn anyway, who's most likely on LinkedIn? Are they active? Can you identify who's active on there? Are you going to, and how are you going to approach those individuals? And we'll get into that later. The third point I have is clarity. Put it on your LinkedIn profile. If you have a brand and if you have an offer, one thing I like about Jeremy's profile is it's super clear. Coin flip marketing, they literally have almost a 50% chance of someone replying. So that idea is very, very clear. What I have is, for example, I have two services. I teach you how to create a client acquisition model, or I just do it for you. And on the previous one, it's a more affordable option for people who want to create their own own system, and if they're able to do that, then great. But why would someone join my mastermind to learn that? So I had to create an offer, and my offer, and we'll talk about later, is it's a 5K program, but $79 will fill in a seat. And if you don't like it, get your money back, And I think for the first X amount of seats, I think this $79 and $250 and $250 or whatever you covered. And you have a lifetime access to the people in order to create your systems, answer questions, kind of move your 2 to 10X. So if you can create an offer that's almost a no-brainer, you can get people on the entry level. And another advantage of getting people on the entry level is that they can grow into your larger offer. So if they understand the mechanics of what you're doing, they may say, well, I can build my own team, or I understand what's happening, but I don't have time to do it. I want you to do that. So those are the concepts that I kind of project and kind of push forward to kind of make some of these things happen. Because at the end of the day, we are here on LinkedIn to actually, do business. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, I'm not here to make friends, but you have to. I don't know if
You're in trouble.
Yeah. Do you agree or not agree? I mean, we always, hey, Jason, how you doing? Because if people don't like you, do you think they're going to do business with you? I mean, unless you're a robot, there's like a small percentage of people that they can work with people they just despise. But in general, I think 80% of the sales decisions is really based on if they like you. And if they like you, they more than often trust you. So there's definitely a way to make friends and also address their pain. So everyone has a pain. I may not be the solution to your pain, but can I ease your pain? Do you have a problem that you think that I can solve? Well, if I can't solve it and I say, oh, yeah, I see you're trying to retain those high-end clients so you keep top of mind. I know a guy named Jeremy. He does that specifically. Oh, you don't have a LinkedIn issue. You may have an email issue, because if you have $1 million proposal and it doesn't make it, it's not the email fault. It's a you problem, so helping people, you can address their pain, even if you're not the expert. You can still be the hero and run those connections. Because if I'm going to bring clients to Jeremy and Ed, you think they'll bring clients back to me? Well, yeah, they will. So a lot of these things are reciprocal. Another thing too is, it's the know, like, and trust. That's what I mean by friends, right? So they know you, like you, trust you enough to want to engage with you. And so there's an actual litmus test, and Ed heard me say this before. Does anyone know what a litmus test is? Because I think I'm aging myself here.
I'm old enough to know.
Yeah, back in school, there was a piece of paper in the
In the late 1800s,
yeah,
right,
oh,
Troy?
yeah, pretty close,
I
right?
was thinking early
You
1900s.
dip it in in the water, and you can check its acidity level, right? And that's called a litmus strip. And so you test it, and those things have all sorts of uses. Like, what is it built? Is it drinkable? All this other stuff, right? So the litmus test, to see if you could actually do business with someone, is if they would take you out to a high-end bar. So nowadays, after COVID, people are a little iffy just meeting people all the time. And if I meet you at a high-end bar, I'm going to tell you things that I won't tell everyone. And it could be personal, or it could be business related. And so we're having drinks. I trust you enough to have drinks with you and have a conversation with you. That's passing that litmus test. So in your mind or their mind, if they feel, thanks, Bentley. Bentley knows what a litmus test is. Appreciate it. But in their mind, if they felt that they can bring you out to a bar, then they can probably do business if you're the right fit, Lisa, before feel free to share all the links. And I want you to share Ed's link and Jeremy's link and mine, and also the link for the mastermind, just to put it up in the chat. And then we'll do that again later. The other thing is, when you're addressing the pain, you need to come from a place of service. And that term came from my buddy, Jean-Michel. Coming from a place of service is not saying, I want to take your money. I want you to buy my stuff. That's not coming from, it's just solving or reducing that pain. And so that tactic really allows people to, to like you. Ed, I know you don't have very many friends, so I'll go to Jeremy.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on here, Troy. And I think that's one of the things why we've had such a good success getting people in the door and then retaining those clients is I call it show them that you care. And if you do that, you build a friendship a lot quicker. And I think the best way to get to that is personalization. And I don't know if you ever read the book. A lot of what we teach here at our business comes from Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you never read it, go in there. He's got 30 different keys on how to win friends and influence people. Dale Carnegie, if you don't remember, I think he's like in the early 1900s, worth like $500
Yeah, didn't he
million.
write about people he didn't meet?
Yeah. I mean, he's phenomenal. I mean, you should check out the book. You can obviously go onto your online library and get it for free, the audio book. It's phenomenal. And one of the things I teach people is, I think it's like number 6 or 7 in the book, is people's name to them is the sweetest sound in the world.
Yeah.
So when you use people's names, whether it's in person or, once again, personalization, putting people's names on gifts, they're way more likely to hold it to heart and tell people about you because it's about them and because it's their name and they love their name.
Yeah. Again, what that really is talking to them about them. Yeah. So we're human centric. So when we hear our own name and people are engaging with us, we know that they're thinking of us, and that has value in within us, and it actually alters our decision making, as well. The other thing we want to talk about is creating an omnipresence, and the word omnipresence is not here, but you want to use systems and strategies, and want to use it for value. I keep on saying value, and for clarity, I'm not saying value to me. I'm saying value to the audience. What is perceived value to them? And so you can use it for good, systems for good, or you can use it for evil. And evil equates to spam. And so they say, well, how am I going to go and reach out to these individuals if it takes 15 touch points to get a meeting, for example, right? And so a lot of people will say, I'll just send them 15 emails or 15 DMs, or, and I'll just, keep on reaching out to until they want to meet with me. Well, that is actual spam, so 15 touch points doesn't mean in one direct channel, especially if they're not there. Can you imagine sending 15 messages on LinkedIn and they don't even see it until a month later? They'll look at you as a douchebag. They're like, look at this guy. Who is he? Like, I didn't even respond. If I didn't respond to the fourth one, do you think I would respond to the 15th? And they just end up blocking you or reporting you and things like that. So there's a lot of negative context when you really don't have a strategy around your systems. So I think half of the people, the messages, Bentley, Ed.
Oh, there you go. My
Okay.
one friend.
All right.
So
You got a
we
friend
got
now.
3 others on here.
Thank you.
He's so humble. So I think,
before.
yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but from the messages that I get via email and DMs and all that sort of thing, I think 50% of the messages are spam. I mean, Ed, Jeremy, what's your intake on that?
I get them all the time.
I would say it's 90%.
Yeah, at least. Yeah,
I was being generous. So, and most of those people,
and I would add too, like, is it even coming, like, especially in email, and this is where Ed helps, like once a week I'll go into my spam folder just to see all the crap that came in. And I'm like, there's so many people not even making it into my inbox because it's being their keywords suck. It's way too long. It's not relevant. Like it's coming from an email that Ed knows more about this stuff than I do. Probably come from an email system that's never sent an email before. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, and just not only is it not relevant, but it's not even making it to my inbox.
Yeah.
The message, when somebody does that, the message is not appropriate to the relationship. So my motto is make friends, talk shop, do business. But you don't go straight to do business before you've made friends first. Talk shop could be helping them in their business, finding some common ground, but at least developing a relationship with them beyond friendship. Now we're kind of talking business a bit, but we're not doing business just yet. And that works. That works really well. And to your point, Troy, yeah, it drives me crazy. I've had posts about it. People have heard me talk about it quite a bit. It drives me crazy when people connect with you and then the next message you get is let's meet for 15 minutes. Like, I don't know who you are. Why would I spend 15 minutes talking about what? I'm not sure what I'd even be talking to you about, or that you're offering anything that I need, or that I need what you're offering.
I did a post on one time. I pushed it on Instagram instead of LinkedIn. And it was, what is this meeting about? And I'm just like this. And I've got so many likes on it. I'm like, this is even the wrong platform. It's like, what's this meeting about? And so what I dislike is when someone books a meeting or puts me on the calendar and I have no clue what's about. There's no context. So I think a lot of people are missing context of conversations because if they had that, maybe you wouldn't have the meeting in the first place, So 50% in Jeremy's eyes, 80% maybe, because I don't even look at my spam folder, to be honest, is spam. That means you are probably a spammer. Maybe you don't know it. So you might want to be a recovering spammer, and then
there you go.
Engage in helpful conversations and personalize when possible. So let's talk about personalization a bit. So I do that through voice memos and videos. So I'll use the LinkedIn app to actually do a welcome video, and I'll have 35 seconds. And I talk about them. I call them by name, and I say, I know you're doing A, B, and C. I'm not sure how I could help, but I have an awesome network. If you have time, take a look at my LinkedIn profile, only if you have a moment. And if you see any dots to connect, send me your booking link and I'll schedule with you. And thank you very much. Hopefully we'll talk soon and have an awesome day. Literally 35 seconds. And it's nice because it's no sell. And you're also saying if they have the time Sure, send me your booking link. And they're not going to go through that action unless they really want to talk to you. And you're putting the ball in their court. So you're not really asking for anything, but thank you for connecting. And so that personalization is nice, because if they say, okay, the ask was to was thanking me for connecting, but the ask was take a look at his stuff, and it's a click. So that ask is equal to that relationship, like what Ed was saying. It's worth it. If it's not, then it's really not meant to be. There might not be a good person that you want to talk to anyway. And so that ask has to be equal to that relationship. And so personalization with video or voice memo or even mailing out or email really makes sense. Another thing too is when we are using systems, you may connect on LinkedIn, but they may not see the message. And so you naturally want to roll to something they're more familiar with, is email. And you want to do it over time. So what if I saw someone I want to connect with? I may want to engage with his post. And Ed does really good with his post. He's got some big numbers with his post engagement. And so I may want to engage in someone in their post because I know they're active or something. And I want to engage maybe twice. But if you look at a post, if you like it, if you post a thoughtful comment and they reply, those are 4 touch points. You get twice 8 touch points in a week or 2. Week 2 or 3, you send a connection invite and you say, you had a great post. I enjoyed your post about ABC. If it's worth connecting, feel free. And so that's the message, and they accept it. So you've already created 11 touch points and you've moved the relationship down the line, which is what you want to do. And you've done that over time. And
can I stop you for just a second, Troy? Because there's something that you said I think people should know, because the 2 things that you just talked about doing, the sending the audio or the video to people to connect, and then the connection message, you get a really good conversion rate for both of those. Could you tell people how you do as far as conversion?
I get about a 20% conversion right off the welcome video. So
and conversion is to an appointment.
To an appointment, to a vetted, booked appointment. So that's pretty high. So you don't need a lot of connections. So one thing is I don't accept everyone's connection. So I'm a little careful on the connections that I accept. So once I am connected, I take the time to personalize the message. That message via video or voice memo, which is an option on LinkedIn, and also my services send out videos as well, and they get good conversion rates. So you may not have time to do video all the time. We have systems where our assistants will send the appropriate video out to the appropriate groupings, but the best conversion is doing it manually. So you don't have time to do it.
Well, I'd add to that, Troy, it's going back to your first slide about understanding your ICP, who your niche is. Like, okay, maybe Ed isn't, so we'll use the systems to reach out to Ed. But I get on Troy's profile, I'm like, oh, Troy's someone who fits who I want to work with. That's when you take the personalization and do the 35-second video. Because now Ed might be in the better client in the long down the road. You obviously don't know that, but like just based off what you're reading on Troy's profile, that's the person you want to do exactly what you're doing for.
Yeah, and you also want to fill in the gaps, because a lot of times you don't have all the time in a day. I mean, it takes me 35 seconds to do the video. I had a client, took them 2 hours to do video, 35 seconds, and they're just not video people, right?
Yeah, you're just calling me out left and right here.
I had a client, Ed, no, but seriously, not everyone, can do a one take and that sort of thing. And so you may want to pick who are the most ideal items, people who connected recently, saying, oh, these 20 people connected me over the last 2 days. And there's 3 people I want to personally send a video to, or 5 people, or whatever. And so what do you do about the rest? Well, you can do a voice memo. You could have a system like mine that sends a video that we create with you that's specific to that target market, and fill in the gaps. So one thing that people do not do well is they don't follow up, and they don't fill in the gaps, because you don't need a lot of volume all the time to fill in the number of clients. Because if you have a high value service, most of the entrepreneurs have to onboard the client, right? They have to manage the client to get a system together. How many clients can you really take on at once? So you may be in a situation that you're taking on clients and you can't serve them. I can't serve more than 4 new clients a month, and that's fine for me. But if I'm able to get 4 clients a month, that's very good money, and it compounds every single month. So if you get 4 clients at, say $2,500 a pop per month, you're talking about 10 grand. And then the following month, you add another 10 grand to it, and so on and so on. So these things are like interest rate, by a large factor, if you will, let me see here. All right, I can't read it because there you go. All right. Okay, so one thing I think is important in the people that are successful, they have consistency, but there's also change with their opposites. So how can you have consistency with change? And so what that really means is, if I have a system, I have a day-to-day process. By the way, if anyone's interested in having a day-to-day process for their LinkedIn business, in the chat, feel free to go ahead and ask for that. And you know what? I'm going to reduce. I don't know how to reduce it. Hey, Ed and Jeremy, if someone does, I'm on the version that's full, so I can't see the chat. If anyone's asking questions on the chat, let me know, because I just realized that now. But if you're interested in getting that day-to-day process for free, we'll send it to you, a link in your LinkedIn DM. Just say LinkedIn daily process. Put that in the chat, and I'll go back tomorrow to make sure you guys get that. But when we create a system, whether it's manual or has some AI factor to it, doing that on a normal basis, having a slow increments of positive change, really brings in the business over time. And when I say slight change, no system is perfect. What works today may not work 3 months from now, right? Or may not work as well 3 months from now. So that's why A/B testing is necessary. That's why sometimes you have to have an omnipresence. You have to have multiple systems that work out well, and they work together. That's really what that means. So you got to figure out what works well, and then you make minor changes over time for scalability.
Bentley has a question about the opening value offer to build your list, and also the frequency in which you should mail. Let me answer the second part of his question. I think the 3 of us could chime in on the first one. I have a pet peeve when it comes to how often you mail. A lot of people get this wrong. A lot of gurus get it wrong in how often you should mail. It's all based on data. And the data that you want to look at is your percentage of unsubscribes, percentage of spam complaints, and percentage of, unsubscribes, spam complaints. There's one other, I'm forgetting the other one. Bounces. So as long as you fall within the right range, so spam complaints has to be less than 1/10 of 1%, 0.1%. Bounce rate should be under or between 0.2 and 0.5%. And bounce rate should be under 2%. Unsubscribe rate should be between 0.2 and 0.5%. As long as you're in that range, you can keep mailing day after day after day. But once you go above that range, you need to start scaling back down.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people have problems managing lists. So the biggest thing that I would think that would be an issue is that people use old lists. So they'll have a bunch of emails and they're going to create a list out of that email, and those emails are older than 6 months. And if those emails are older than 6 months, what's the percentage chance?
So 2% of emails go bad each month. So now you're looking at 12% of them being bad. You're well over that bounce rate that I mentioned of 2%. So you get yourself in trouble. So yeah, you do have to clean the list. A good place, good service to clean the list would be clearout.io.
Yeah, they have softwares that will clear it out every 30 days, like the SendFox software.
Yeah, you want to use a third party though, because they're not going to catch everything.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So they have most of those rates on it. So yeah, cleaning out your list, people that are not active, people that are not opening, and things like that. If they're not going to see it in, say, 2 or 3 emails, you might as well drop them, because it's very problematic, and they're not going to really. There's no value to them, and there's no value to you if you don't clean those lists out. What was the other part?
So the other one is opening value.
How do you create value?
So like with your offer of $79 to join your mastermind, which is normally what, $500 something.
Well, it's a $5,000 program, but we're filling seats. So the idea is really just get some happy customers in there and them to tell other people for testimony, just to be honest. So people say, oh, you're doing such great work and you're giving away for free. Well, I'm helping them to help me. Let's just be honest. That's what business is all about. So I'm proposing, it's $79 and for the first month. And if they don't want it, I just give their money back. And then there's 2 payments of $247, and that's it. And they have a lifetime access to me, weekly meetings, live courses, and recorded courses.
I've got an offer which is $1 on the front end, and I'll do this on podcast interviews, and I'll argue that if it's a subject line product that'll help. It's basically double your open rates is what it's called. And so I'll challenge people and say, yeah, it's not free, because a lot of times when you go on podcasts, the guest will give something away. I'm charging $1, and I tell people that, well, if doubling your open rates is not worth $1, then you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that challenge actually gets people to take me up on it. I haven't lost a single person by doing that versus doing something for free. And the difference being the people that are willing to spend even $1 tell you something. And so the next step in the funnel, they jump to a $97 product, and it's tied to the first one. It's called hypnotic copywriting.
Because you're bringing them on a journey.
Right. And again, I do another challenge. I say, look, I can take anyone and turn them into an A-list email copywriter in an hour. So it's an irresistible offer and a great challenge. It's only $97. So most people take me up on that. And then the next one is a $197 offer. And then there's another one after that, which is the final one, and that's working with me. So you stair step them, you progress them on their way, and at some point somebody will stop and say, I just don't want to spend any more money. But you know that they've at least been willing to spend some money with you. You develop a relationship with them, and maybe you get them as a consulting client.
Yeah, you're doing a couple of things. It's similar to mine. I want $79 to hold your seat. But if you don't think it's worth it, I just give your money back, and I'm 2xing to 10xing their business on their bottom line. And so once you set up that first series of items for where they're learning stuff, you're educating them in a way that they can be more self-sufficient and they get to know you better. And once they get to know you better, they're primed to actually do it themselves or hire you to do the service. So you're doing yourself a service and you're also providing a service to them, which is very, very powerful. That way, because if you give them too much information at once, it's just overkill. So they have to be exposed to the concepts and ideas first. I don't know if we let's see here. I don't know if we answered the question though.
Yeah, we did.
We did. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sure did.
So Bentley has a question.
I mean, I'll say mine real quick because mine's a little different. I mean, my kind of whole thing is always kind of present value on my channels where I market to. And it's always an offer, whether in the post or in the comments or whatever, there's a way to get access to my newsletter or my book. And that gets you into my system.
Oh.
And to your point, Troy, is if you start reading my emails, you start paying attention to my post, I try to drop a ton of value on how we do it. So say, hey, you can go do this yourself. I'm giving you all this stuff and showing you how to do it. But my client's biggest pain point is time. Yeah, I know I should be doing this, but I just don't have the time. Well, guess what? We can do it for you. So you have to make, and over the time as they watch all my value that I drop on LinkedIn or through my newsletters, they realize, okay, I need to start doing this or I need to hire Jeremy's company. And that's how I approach it.
Do you provide products, Jeremy? Because I know that I've given people an option because there's so many people that do it yourself. They want to do it themselves versus hire somebody. Do you have that option for people that want to do things on their own?
Yeah, so I have a course if they want to learn everything I want to do. But here's what I've done. I've done 4 consulting gigs in the last 2 years, Ed, where people are like, hey, we're going to do it ourselves. Every single 4 of those people came back and did it, hired me.
Yeah, because they realized it's a lot of work, didn't they?
Yeah.
They realized it was a lot of work, and they got other stuff going on. They worked with you.
Yeah. It doesn't get done. Yeah, it just doesn't get done. And they get some immediate results because they get on it, and then life happens. A kid gets sick, client passes, whatever the case may be, and it doesn't get done for a few weeks, and it gets put on the back holder because it's not quite as important, and it just doesn't get done.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we had a question from a good friend, Bentley, and I love his name. It just sounds so rich, doesn't it, Bentley?
Yeah. So Rolls Royce, I think, is his middle name.
Yeah. So as a newer business, what recommendations do each of you have for opening value offer to begin building an email list? So how do you provide value in order to generate that list?
That's what we answered.
That's what we just answered.
We just answered it. Okay.
We did. We're going to answer it again.
Oh, my goodness. I'm just seeing this chat now. I pushed the button. So answer question answered. There you go. All right. So we have Kaylee, which she missed the first 38 minutes. It's okay. It's just all recorded, Awesome. So I'll open up the slides, and we're running out of time. We do that when we have guest speakers and stuff. So I apologize. I can manage my own time, but managing everyone else's time is really difficult for me. So this is what we're talking about. We have systems that allow them to learn, or so you either want to learn how to do it first, you want to hire, or you want to do both. So you may want to take the course at the same time you're working with that particular vendor in order to get a better understanding. And sometimes you want to take that baby step to get your feet wet. You're not all into it. So that's all this takes, for example. And I give 2 examples. This is the mastermind that we talk about. And then Lisa, if you can give the mastermind link again, that would be great. But we have a lifetime mastermind that teaches you how to create your own client acquisition system. Or if you hire, an example of hiring is our premium done for you system, where we build it for you and we actually help you with that bookings and through the multiple channels. I don't want to spend too much time on that. So, and we talked about this already, so we can kind of skip this, but personalization, I think, is key. That is what really helps people connect with you. whether you're mailing something personalized or you're emailing it, or if you're rolling from a LinkedIn DM to an email, if you have done a video already, say, for example, we connected, I send you a welcome video on LinkedIn and they don't see it. They just don't see it. It's not the fact that they don't like you. They just may not be LinkedIn people like that. Well, if you roll into an email and tell them, hey, we connected recently, I sent you a video. The word video itself brings a 20% open rate, higher open rate on your email. And it relates back to the personalized video. So these are ways to connect things and actually talk about a piece of material or a conversation that they didn't see prior. And it makes sense. So a lot of people will reach out here, and reach out there, and it's disconnected. So one way to make it work better and have a higher conversion, have that conversation connect. And it's a bit of an art form to do that. So instead of a shotgun blast, you're taking a very strategic approach to reach out to that individual during the right amount of time, you know. And we talked about a couple of those other things, video, voice memos, and that sort of thing. Another thing too is when you are dealing with a client or you're running a team, you have to communicate and you have to set those expectations properly. So when I work with an assistant or anyone, I generally create an SOP, and that's a service operating procedure. And on the client end, it's just the agreement, so they know what to expect and when to expect it. So if you explain those, if you have those expectations up in a very clear format, you have a lot less issues because they feel comfortable because they understand what's happening, when it's happening, how they expect to get communicated with. It removes a lot of those questions, and virtual assistants are a big deal, and other service providers are a big deal. So you need to know how you're going to work with that person. So if someone's helping me with my content, what is the typical procedure? Lisa is helping me right here with these events. Well, there's a set of procedures after the event, before the event, that makes sense because we want to follow up in communication. We'll pull some of the people into the email list and just say hello to double check it. So setting those expectations are super important. Don't know if you guys have any SOP recommendations or client recommendations on that.
I mean, that's probably the most important thing of any business is your SOPs. And ultimately it's a guidance with whether Troy, Ed, whoever's coming in your business, people turnover, people leave, right? You need to have a process. If you really want to take a deep dive into this, for those listening, if you're especially a business owner, read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. I'm not sure if Troy and Ed, have you heard of that book, but
Nope.
It's all about systems, and you have to read it.
Jeremy, if you have a chance afterwards, jump on this live and put the link on there.
Yeah, it's a great book just to learn about systems, and they use McDonald's as an example. Like you can go to any McDonald's in America, it's the same dang system. It's hiring the people to operate those systems is why McDonald's is so successful, because it shouldn't take that long to learn how to do the fries, because it's right there. You learn it a day, poof, that person's up and running.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this already because we're going top of the hour, but 80% of your ability to sell is if they like you. That's it. So be likable. And how are you likable? Be honest and provide actual value to that person. It's not like I'm a cool guy. No, I like this person because he actually provides value in my life, or he's lessening a pain. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it's so important to really understand those dynamics. Because I barely have a personality, so I had to work on that for quite a while. Number 9, think of omnichannel. And I'll just give a quick example. And we talked about this already. How do you create multiple channels so when you're sleeping, you're generating business? When you're awake, you're doing your daily tasks. So, for example, having that conversation on a post, leading that to a connection invite, doing a personalized video, maybe one follow-up, and then a few weeks later, you might want to send that email letting them know, if they didn't respond on any of those, that I did send you a personalized email. Thank you for the connection. Mail, have personalized mail. I was on a magazine, so it's pretty cheap, like $250. I can mail it to 40 people. A LinkedIn newsletter or a email newsletter over time. And that's just a quick example of creating an omnichannel on multiple platforms. So you have content being developed. It doesn't even talk about your own content being developed or working your content. The needle and haystack method also works on polls, and Ed has done this very successfully, where you have a poll with 3 or 4 questions on it, and the people who, and all the answers are right, of course, but there's one main answer where this is probably the potential customer, right? This is the prospect. And then poll number 2 goes around and gets into the granular of the questions or the concept. And then after you do 2 or 3 polls, who the buyers are, and that's one thing that's super important to figure out, because if you're not dealing with the buyers, then what are you doing? So again, we'll go ahead and post this tomorrow. And then Lisa, if you can go ahead and give everyone's links again, I do appreciate that. Ed, Jeremy, I would love to ask if you have any last words.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out 80% is people like you. How are you getting any business, Troy?
That's it. Yeah. The reason I like Jeremy so much, this is stupid, that he reminded me of Michael Scott off The Office. He reminds, because Michael Scott is such a lovable character, right? And he reminded me of him. So that was and that sounds kind of weird, but that's how you have a likable face, And so when I start engaging with you, this guy's he's not a jerk at all. He's really a nice guy, and he's there to help people.
Were you surprised, or or did you expect that?
I'm a bit of a pessimist, but
Jeremy's got a nice smile. He looks very friendly.
Yeah.
I try to be. If you catch me on one of those bad days, I'll tell you.
So any last words?
Oh, did we lose Troy?
I was going to ask Troy. Hey, there he is. Are you live, Troy? Yeah, there you go. I see your eyes.
Moving. See?
There you go. So I do have a question for you, for those people that are doing newsletters. Do you go into your newsletter and start either welcome those people or look through the people that have signed up for your newsletter and see, well, who would be a good prospect for me to reach out to, and then work your process through those people?
Are you referring to an email newsletter or a LinkedIn newsletter?
LinkedIn newsletter.
Okay, I can tell you how I started it. So if you have a good audience, say a good number of connections, the advantage of a LinkedIn newsletter is LinkedIn will do all the hard work for you. They'll send it out and all this other stuff. Now, as far as the first newsletter, I just talked about what the newsletter was going to be about. That's the only thing I could think of. Why? So because the importance of that is, why would I want to be on this newsletter? What are you really talking about? And so that's the first newsletter that I pushed out, is what it was about. And mine's about interesting people and interesting things. It could be technology. It could be an interview with a person. It could be a cool piece of software that you're using this technique. The conversation that we had would actually we had a phone call last week, and that would be very interesting to talk about. You pointed to the software Be Human. Remember, we had that conversation?
Yep.
I can write a whole newsletter about that. That's some cool stuff. That's interesting thing and interesting people. And so I keep a theme, and that's how I kind of, create 1 or 2 newsletters a month. And
so for me, Ed, I started off with the LinkedIn newsletter. I was going to keep on doing it, but LinkedIn deleted it. So thank you, LinkedIn. But I found Substack about 3 months ago, and I use that as my new newsletter provider because it's all about, for me, is getting people off the platform
Hmm.
so I can capture that data and it's mine. So once you've gotten the Substack, I go in there every once a week for any new subscribers, download it. Everybody gets a welcome email. What I really love about Substack, even though it's not quite as many people on LinkedIn reading it or at least seeing it, I think I'm up to like 80 people now. I can actually see who's actually getting it, who's reading it. It shows you real lifetime data, who opened it, who's opened up all your emails or newsletters. So if you said, I think I've sent out like 12 now. If Troy was there from day one, I could see that he actually opened 9 of the 12. And so what I do then is I can look and see, okay, well, Troy's open, he's reading, he's engaging. But I got Ed over here who's said he wanted to sign up, but he hasn't opened up any of my emails. So number one, he might not be even getting it.
Yeah. So
So I
your
reach out to
data
him
is a little
personally.
more pure. You have pure data, pure analytics. You're
Yeah.
saying.
That's what I love about Substack. And two, I think
Yeah.
the platform of actually putting a very readable, fun newsletter is better than any other platform I've ever seen. But I get that real life data, which is important to me because then I know, to its point, like who can I personally reach out to make sure they're number one getting it, or number two, like if someone comments on it. I just had a comment like 2 weeks ago, and I reach out to them like, hey, I really think great for your comment. What'd you really like about
So
the
it's
article?
easy
It's
to
a nice
manage. Yeah.
article.
So that's a really big point
Yes.
too. Is that me being a LinkedIn expert, my job is to pull them off of LinkedIn. Yeah. That's why you have multiple channels and multiple ways to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
The whole concept is bring them off of LinkedIn and then bring them into a real life conversation. And how do you do that? You do that through separating data and having those right conversations to lead to the right meeting and that right relationship. I think we had one other question here. Kaylee, Troy, would it be disrespectful if I'm interested in free knowledge? Well, I'll go ahead and put it up here. No, Insight file you mentored earlier. All you have to do is ask for the daily process. I'll send it to you. And if you want to book a meeting with me for a chat, feel free. I think Lisa's already provided the link on there. Not disrespectful at all. No, definitely reach out. And if I can help you support you anyway. And the same thing for everyone else. Feel free to reach any of us, Jeremy, Ed, or me, Troy. I think our booking links or at least our my booking links there, but I think our LinkedIn profile is there. So send a connection request and say that I saw you on the Troy show. Love to connect, and hopefully you guys will accept it, right? Now I don't know about Ed. Ed's got to. I don't know if I'm gonna.
I just accepted 3 invitations, so
awesome.
yeah, I'm open to connect with people.
Oh yeah, you can tell when guys are multitasking. All of us, we have a blank stare in our face because we're. Anyway, awesome show. Great questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having me back,
I'll go ahead
man.
and let you go.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.